Like the towers, a republic is fallen, but the revolution to rescue it has begun. How do we do it? Not with demonic Democrats and Republican rats, not with CIA, FBI, and State Department who murder and rape children and import fellow cartel and Taliban pedos to do the same. Instead, look to those who did and died, who served and sacrificed. Remember NYFD Chief Palmer and Fire Marshal Buka, who understood the danger, ran into the towers, and died there so that others may live. Remember Tom Burnett, Mark Bingham, Todd Beamer, and Jeremy Glick, who gathered intel, made a plan, said the Lord's Prayer, then shouted their war cry, "Let's roll," and counterattacked on Flight 93. Remember Jeremy's mother-in-law, who told his wife Liz, "Make him brave." Remember Liz telling him, "You are brave. You are strong. You should do this." Then, having sent her husband to her death, went into the bathroom to throw up. Remember Rick Rescola, Brit, then American paratrooper, survivor of the Ia Trang battle, who predicted the 9/11 air attack, evacuated almost as many as were lost, then died going back in to save more. Remember the firefighters who responded unasked nationwide and sacrificed their health and lives, rescuing the living and recovering the dead. Remember real Avengers, ODAs 595 and 555, who inserted deep behind enemy lines in Afghanistan with no QRF and overthrew the Taliban government within weeks. Resist, rebel, refuse, and revolt, the traitors and all of their rules and ruses. Emulate our heroes, dead and alive. The way is hard, but true, and so must we become. I'm a retired SOCOM soldier, former DIA intelligence collector, and ex-DEA special agent. Targeted by the deep state, turned whistleblower warrior, served and sabotaged, rejected and redeemed, failed and forgiven, betrayed and saved, rejecting revenge, humbled and blessed, repurposed in redemption as chaplain, leader, teacher, and truth teller. Now, America's intelligence officer, following God, leading my family, and any that choose to join on our long trail of tears walk to freedom and faith. Welcome. I'm Jeff Prather, and this is the Prather Point. We are way past condolences and condemnations. We say we are one nation, but we're not. We are two very different peoples. They call us racist, bigots, sexist, fascists, and their favorite, threat to democracy. Not to debate, but to label, to demean and dehumanize, because it's always easier to kill when you dehumanize those you want to murder. Charlie Kirk is dead because the left couldn't bear the thought of a peaceful man debating them and winning. But murdering Charlie is going to be remembered as his greatest turning point. The day where America finally woke up to what this fight really is. It's not a civil dispute among fellow countrymen. It's a zero-sum war between diametrically opposed worldviews, which cannot peaceably coexist together. One side will win, and one side will lose. Charlie tried to win that fight debate through discussion, through peaceful resolution of differences, and the other side murdered him. Not because he was extreme or inciting violence or any other hyperbolic slur they throw at him. They murdered him because he was effective, because he was unafraid, because he inspired others and made them feel like they had a voice, that they were not alone. And he did it at the very institutions which have fomented so much hatred towards conservatives. Don't stand in solidarity with the other side of the aisle. Defeat them. Defeat the Satanists whose sacrament is the killing of babies in the womb and raping of children, turning cities into cesspools, and that murdered Charlie Kirk. Social media is aflame right now with leftist celebrations of Charlie's death. But the left does not understand what has just happened because they ignore scripture, fallen human nature, and history. They have no morals, so they lack a Yamamoto. They are neither geniuses nor Goliaths. They're just failures with father wounds, and they don't realize they have awakened a slumbering David and filled us with terrible resolve. Courtesy of Nick Freitas, 1st Special Forces Group, 18 Bravo, and my old friend Kirk Wald. Lots to cover today. Very special guest coming on. Mike Adams is great to be with us. I see Stay Brewed there. I'm not putting up advertisements today out of respect for 9/11, but I certainly do recommend staybrewed.com, teamamerica.com as well. So what we're going to be talking about today, Mike Adams is going to be on to talk about the Charlie Kirk assassinations and 9/11 and how they're all tied in. And highlights are, and I'm just blasting stuff out on Patreon as fast as I can, and on locals, the bodyguards hand signals. Those are obviously clear hand signals. I'm very familiar with them. Classic hand signals. The decoy shooter that was arrested, very familiar with that. The tranny engraved rounds that were found with yet another Mauser. If you don't know, Oswald's rifle was initially labeled a Mauser. It was actually a Mannlicher, but Mausers have been used to kill many heads of state from Yugoslavia to Spain. And Charlie had doubted October 7th already because he had been on that border. And like General Flynn said, there's a IDFer with an AR-15, actually he meant M16, every 15 feet. And his Israel point of view was turning as well. If you can listen to his conversations with Megyn Kelly, they were starting to question the American Christian Zionist narrative, and that cannot be tolerated. Just like I have been besieged lately by pro-Zionist forces from the young nationally syndicated columnist who would not respond. And he said, "Oh, I liked your interview with Kirk, if you recall." But Kirk didn't come on that day, so he was prepped. Just like in the old days when Jared Armitage came after me with the MSPP document, pretending it was a court document. You can never find that stuff unless someone is giving it to you. Who gives it to you? The government gives it to you. And also, like at UVALD, there was a private jet that came into right before the shooting, left right after, and turned off its transponder. Very much like UVALD. Remember, I showed that video of the two guys watching the UVALD shooter, Ramos, go into the school. And so the tranny is a distraction for that as well. And like Crooks, the killer was tracked for an hour on the roof. And then afterwards, they see him escaping. They see where he's going. They've got the rifle. They've got the tranny engraved bullets. The only thing they don't have is the shooter. And why not? Because the FBI is yet again on the case, and the FBI is going to obfuscate and cover up for the shooter because they are in on it as well. But again, and I'll get into all those details as I talk with Mike Adams, and I just did an interview with him yesterday. So I've been asking to get him on. So he generously said he would come on today. And I'm going to be on with Sean of SGT talking about this on Friday. And then, of course, I will be in Iowa. I will be speaking in Iowa on Saturday as well. I am not going to be silenced, because that is the point of real sniping. Sniping is a force multiplier. It's a psychological operation where you kill one person, but then you scare 200. It's really terrorism. It's really to oppress you. To literally oppress means to bend down. That is to get your head down so you are not next. And so that's the real PSYOP. That's the real force multiplication value of sniping. And that's the idea here. Charlie could have been hit anywhere. He could have been hit at home. He could have been hit at the grocery store. That was not the purpose of this hit. The purpose of this hit was a high-profile hit, just like JFK, meaning we can reach out and touch you. And that's very interesting, too. But the reaction is not going to be what they expected because they don't study history. They don't understand fallen human nature. They believe in human secularism and communism and socialism, which does not follow human nature. So this is going to build the resistance. This is going to be Charlie's biggest turning point ever. This is going to consolidate those who have been on the fence. And this is the Christic protocol that we have learned. The Romans thought that they would wrap up with Yeshua with just one more crucifixion, but they did not. And the same thing is going to happen here. on the very college campuses. So prayers for Charlie Kirk, his family, his poor wife and little kids. Uh, but this is his greatest turning point, and people are going to really begin to pay attention to that. But it's not just the left, and it's certainly not the trannies. All signals, all indications, and there's a lot of intelligence information indications, and there's a lot of evidence indicating this goes back to Israel. And that is because, again, Charlie was questioning the Israeli narrative. He's been going along with that, and I just posted on my Substack there today that he had a recent conversation with Megyn Kelly where he was doubting the Israeli narrative as she was, because they were being criticized for daring to think outside the box. And if you combine that with Tucker Carlson's recent Piers Morgan interview, there you see the resistance building. So there are liberty luminaries who are really telling the truth. Alex Jones, me, Mike Adams, and then slowly that seeps over to other mainstream folks like Tucker Carlson, who then have been kicked off as well, or Glenn Beck. And then they are turned around, they're interviewed by guys like Piers Morgan, who are CNN dyed in the wool liberals, and they start to understand what is going on. And so that's how we are waging this fourth generation resistance movement against the fifth generation democide. And of course, I'm never advocating anything illegal, immoral, unethical, or violent, although the left does continually, blatantly, and openly. And there were guys in the crowd that were cheering. There were people coming to the prayer session that night. A guy drove up in a truck and said, "Frack Charlie Kirk." And unfortunately, the crowd took the bait. And that's a huge mistake, that the crowd took that bait. I teach that to my young martial arts students. I push the young guys, and then as they come back in, I'm like, "Who's controlling this fight?" First they say, "I am." And I'm like, "Nope." And they goes, "Oh, you are." "Yeah, because you're reacting. You're coming right back into my fight." And then I say, "Now push me." When they push me, I let them push me. I walk away. I go into a bathroom. I spread soap on the floor. I pick up the garbage can. When they come in from the bright light into the darkness, their eyes haven't adjusted. They slip on the soap. I would hit them with the garbage can. I don't really hit them with the garbage can. I explain what I would do to them. And then I would quietly leave them in the bathroom, and then I would leave. So I would not be connected with it, and nobody saw anything. That's fighting on your terms. But responding to the push is simply fighting on their terms. And that's not what we want to do ever. But unfortunately, they were easily goaded into this. People still don't understand that it's a mental fight first, that you, just like Sun Tzu says, you want to defeat if you know yourself and your enemy, you'll never be defeated. And you defeat the enemy before you ever meet them. They're still falling for this over and over. And so we've got to get past that. But it's pretty funny because there's an internal ATF email that has linked showing they've got the weapon, which is like a Mauser. They've got engraved bullets with pro-tranny stuff on there, but they don't have the shooter. Well, why not? Because the FBI, again, obfuscated and let him go. They've got this jet that came in and left. So this is planted disinformation. I'm very, very certain of that. I'm also very, very certain about the shooting. This was precision shooting. This isn't like the incompetents who have been set up on Trump at all. This shot cut the subcarotid artery, and you should watch it. You should see what real violence looks like, and may have gone and cut the spine if the angle's right, and coming down, going down the spinal cord. I'm pretty sure he was dead immediately. And that's very sophisticated shooting because my sources say he was wearing a vest, but there were signals from the audience that are very obvious. So this is totally a professional hit. It looks like it's setting up the trannies and the left, but it really, all indications really go towards Israel and Mossad. Because Israel is now bombing 360 targets in Gaza. There was also a Colorado shooting as well. But let's find out what my good friend and guest Mike Adams has to say about this, because I'm sure he's got some new stuff that I haven't gotten yet on it. So, Mike, thank you so much for making time and coming on.
Thank you, Jeffrey. It's an honor to join you, and thanks for having me on. It's a solemn day, though. I was really rattled. I'm very saddened, and I want to offer prayers to the surviving family members of Charlie Kirk and all those who are impacted by this act of violence.
Amen, brother. I am right there with you, and we both post our sermons and believe in Yeshua, but the other side clearly does not. They don't want to debate; they just want to kill. It's about democide. But I hope you heard what I was summarizing there. There was a jet that came in and left, turned off its transponder. They've got a weapon. They've got engraved bullets. They've got video for an hour beforehand, just like Kirk. They just don't have the shooter. This looks like a total setup to me, and all indications also point to Israel, because Charlie had already questioned the October 7th narrative because he'd been on the border, and he was starting to question the Israeli narrative with Megyn Kelly, just like Tucker had convinced, I think, Piers Morgan recently in his documentary interview. What do you say?
So that's one of the dominant theories, that somehow Mossad is setting up trans violence as the fall guy, so to speak, or the fall girl, whatever, the fall trans, the patsy for this, right? The Lee Harvey Oswald of this. That's a theory. We don't know yet. But I heard some of what you said, and I love the fact that I can talk with you about ballistics, because you're incredibly accomplished with firearms and firearms training. I'm an accomplished long range rifle shooter on steel targets. And so we can talk about these things. And I want to ask you, did you see the frame by frame showing that, clearly Charlie Kirk was wearing a chest plate? I don't know the ballistics level of protection of that plate, but that plate got rocked. That plate heaved up. And there's some people who believe that perhaps the top of into his neck. That seems like something we should consider, because the plate, it's very clear the plate was struck, and there's only one round fired. And have you seen that, Jeffrey, the plate?
I haven't seen that. I've heard that explanation, but I haven't seen the plate move. I did have sources that were saying that he was plated up.
Clearly, he's clearly wearing. It had the the typical plate cut. You can see the shape of it. But as you know, Jeffrey, a lot of people wear those chest plates too low. There's a tendency to wear them too low. Like, you really want them hiked up. You almost like you're choking on it, because obviously you have a lot of vital.
That's right. Yeah, you want it right about here, right?
That's right.
And you just want to be able to bend. You still got to be able to bend your head, but yeah, a lot of people wear them way too low.
Absolutely. And I was taught this by the special forces guys that I trained with. They're like, your plate's too low.
Yep.
You're just going to get shot in the throat. Like they don't hold back. So is it possible that the shooter wasn't as skilled as we thought, that shooter was aiming center mass and actually didn't do a great job of that? It went a little bit high and it hit the top of the plate and then ricocheted into his neck. That's just a scenario that we should consider.
No, it's certainly possible. A couple things it would have to be. It could not be the new polycarbonate plates like that I used that float and are less than 3 pounds, because even at the lip of those things, they will catch the bullet. It's got to be a metal plate. It's probably a metal plate, not a ceramic plate.
Yep.
It's likely an old-time military metal plate that would then frange that round up. And
exactly.
But I didn't see why I kind of doubt that is because I don't see any splatter behind him for that. And people have talked about that.
It would be key to actually look at the plate, obviously, and then we would know if that's ever made available to us. I'm sure the plate is part of the FBI's evidence right now.
Yes, and I am just exasperated. Why does everybody keep deferring to the FBI?
Right.
Because they never do anything except obfuscate and cover up. Why? And this is a murder. It's a political murder. It's assassination, but I don't see where the FBI has any real jurisdiction here.
Well, and the other thing, I agree with you on this point, and I'm very suspicious of the discovery of this rifle that is supposed to have anti or trans violence inscriptions on some rifle rounds, because if you're a shooter and you have a bolt action rifle, you know you only have one shot. Why would you put inscriptions on the other rounds if you plan to escape?
Now, this is clearly disinformation. This is clearly a planned release. There's no doubt.
Looks like it.
I assess this as highly probable that this was released purposefully. And I'm sorry to hear Crowder, falling for this and publicizing it. But they think they're breaking something. But I don't buy any of it. But to get back to the ballistics, because you are a long range shooter, we're both shooters. I've heard that theory. And again, when bullets hit, they do all kinds of weird stuff. For example, in my 5-day pre-deployment class that we did for over 250 times, and there were units, 250 units, not individuals. And we had government contracts with every military branch, including the Coast Guard, all the intelligence agencies. We put like 21,000 people through those courses. We did a ballistics demonstration on concrete, on wood, on cars, on cinder blocks, so they'd see what the rounds would do, because the movies don't show that. You get these sparkings off cars and stuff. So, one time a round came back and lodged under a guy's arm, and we've done this hundreds of times. Bullets do all kinds of crazy things.
Oh yeah.
It's very difficult to predict. But what I saw was precision shooting that looks like it hit the carotid on a downward trajectory to maybe cut the spine, cut the heart, and then go downward and do the most damage through the torso, almost vertically, diagonally, which is an ideal. That's better than shooting somebody perpendicularly. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's a lot better to shoot them because you're going down through the whole body. And one reason so that I think could also account for the plate movement as well.
It could.
And
I've
also
considered that too. Yes.
Also then fits the lack of blood spatter. So to me, that combined with the guy's exit out of there, but also we haven't even talked about the bodyguards' hand signals, which were clear. I have no doubt again that the guys were given hand signals. Guy presses his ear, other guy touches his arm. Those are classics.
If you don't mind, something else in support of your theory of the precision shot is there wasn't very clear bullet damage of the white T-shirt.
Right.
So I would expect, how these bullets fragment and spall, right?
Yeah.
I would expect to see the white T-shirt really kind of micro shredded
near
the impact.
You would, and you might also see a little bit of powder residue.
Absolutely.
Well,
and of course we didn't see any of that. So that's in support of your theory. And you may be absolutely correct, but think about it though, Jeffrey. So if there's a precision shooter, they would know that he's wearing a chest plate, because otherwise there's no reason to aim for someone's neck unless they're wearing a chest plate, right? I mean,
we actually train. So normally, you do a controlled pair or a hammer here,
right?
And then you go up to the nose for your failure to stop. But if I teach my guys this, if they are plated up, then you're going for 2 controlled pairs in the neck and then back up.
Right.
And as you come in closer, then you raise that up. But for that distance, so it looks like he knew that.
He knew it.
And again, if you go to the so-called bodyguards on stage, I've used those hand signals a million times. Those are clear hand signals, without a doubt. Plus, the vendors back inside one of them speaking Hebrew, and one of them goes to put something under the table really quickly. Plus, there's the shooter who's the fake shooter who is arrested, makes a big show. That's decoy.
Very suspicious.
Then there's the pellet guns up there. You know,
Jeffrey, also
this is an elaborate ruse.
The fact that this was done publicly during obvious live streaming so that this could be a spectacle, that tells you something very strongly, right?
Yes.
So when you assassinate someone publicly in full view, it's intended to send a message and to cause psychological terrorism among the population.
That's right.
Viewing.
That's exactly right. It's psychological terrorism. It's force multiplication, psychological terrorism.
That's right.
That's exactly what it is.
So it wasn't just for your audience. Obviously, I mean, your audience is very sophisticated, but I just want to say this on the record. It wasn't just about they wanted to kill and silence Charlie Kirk, because they could have done that more easily in another setting.
That's right.
This was about assassinating Charlie Kirk in a very gory, very psychologically traumatizing fashion in full view of the nation. That's what this was.
Yes. I just talked to my family about that this morning. That was a spectacle. That's the same reason they hit JFK. The dichotomy, though, is this is not what was going on with Trump. Even though I highly probably assess those as inside operations as well. So again, while I assess that the Secret Service and the FBI were clearly in on Butler and in on the golf course shootings, here it looks like a foreign operator because of the precision. And again, because it fits in with the motive of stopping him from turning his point of view away from Israel.
And that it's very clear now. And I regret that I didn't really follow Charlie Kirk. I wasn't listening to his podcast. He speaks to a younger generation, but I've come to learn since his passing, just hearing all of his video clips, that he really was beginning to awaken and beginning to question so many things. He questioned whether there was a stand down order on October 7th. He questioned how Israel could have allowed that to happen when the whole country is IDF, he said. He was questioning Gaza. He was questioning the fact that he wasn't allowed to question Israel. All these examples. I wasn't aware that he was saying these things. My understanding of Charlie Kirk was that he was always pro-Israel and defending Israel, which I think he did for a long time, but he was beginning to turn. And then even he said, and Harrison Smith reported this publicly, that he was told that Charlie Kirk was concerned that if he turned against Israel, that Israel would kill him.
Yep. No, I'm exactly, I listened to him a little bit and then okay, that's the standard narrative, not interested in the neocon, right? He's just not going deep enough for us.
Right.
But I think it's really important because I see our effectiveness. And I think it's important for us to realize our fourth generation resistance against the fifth generation democide that's being waged globally against us. Is there's guys like you and I who are out there on the fringe. And by the way, that was JD Cash on the Oklahoma bombing. That's all these little journalists who break these stories. I forget who Jeremy, the Avenger guy did Kill the Messenger movie. I think he exposed the Contras. It's not the New York Times or the LA paper. It's these little independent, ferocious little journalists. And
Gary Webb.
Gary Webb. Yeah, that's right. Gary Webb. And as slowly then there is an osmosis over to guys like Tucker who have been kicked off mainstream as well. Right. And then when you see Tucker being interviewed by Piers Morgan and you see Piers Morgan starting to listen, this is our effectiveness. This is us winning. And Charlie's greatest turning point is his martyrdom is going to turn more and more.
Well, and I want to point out too that again, the Mossad theory is most definitely in play, but we don't know conclusively, obviously, yet. We may never know. But Israel has depended on support from boomers this entire time, and those boomers who grew up with the Schofield Bibles and like Senator Ted Cruz, my own senator here in Texas, who is just an all-out pro-Zionist voice, no matter what. And Ted Cruz, you ask him about Israel, he answers like a 10-year-old in Bible school. Israel can do no wrong. And it's like, well, that generation is actually dying off from age or jabs or whatever. And Israel needs a younger generation to become very vehemently pro-Israel. And it's no secret that Turning Point USA was funded by, Israeli-linked money. And then Charlie Kirk began talking about Jewish donors pushing cultural Marxism in America. So he was turning against his own donors.
Yep.
And it's no secret who's funding Ben Shapiro. It's no secret, Breitbart, whatever. There's a strong financial flow to influence younger Americans in the same way that the boomers were influenced through the Schofield Bible. So perhaps that's why Charlie Kirk was silenced. Again, we don't know for sure, but it's a valid investigation area.
Well, I think that's great. And the question I would ask then, right, Becca, then why now? Charlie Kirk has done 100 of these turning points on college campuses. And the question is, why now, as opposed to last week, last month, last year? And again, the answer comes back that he was changing his mind on all of this, I think. Well, what else is there? I'm looking for another factor. I'm very open-minded to see that, but I don't see one.
Well, and I would also say that Israel, diplomatically speaking, is really on the ropes right now. And with Israel's bombing of Qatar, which was just an outrageous international crime by any measure. It was denounced by every nation in the world other than those who are complicit in Israel's genocide, frankly. I mean, it was denounced by China, Russia, even the UK denounced it.
You were gracious enough to have me on yesterday to talk about that specifically. And Qatar is kind of like the Switzerland of the Middle East. It's also very high end, very small population, a very rich population, and therefore they really punch above their weight in world opinion. And after them giving Trump the next Air Force One, and then allowing El Adid Air Force Base to stand down and do nothing, it's a real slap in the face.
Absolutely. And remember that Qatar promised $1.5 trillion of investment in the USA. Now, there's a factor that you and I didn't talk about yesterday. I just want to bring it in here. Of course, the U.S. military destroyed the Nord Stream pipelines, in the Baltic Sea to cut off Western Europe from Russian gas, Gazprom gas. Joe Biden bragged about it. Victoria Nuland essentially bragged about it. And Biden promised it was going to be blown up before it was blown up. You realize that the destruction of that pipeline benefits strongly Qatar?
Yes.
Because Qatar exports LNG, liquefied natural gas, by massive volumes, now exporting, of course, through the Strait of Hormuz, obviously controlled by Iran, and ultimately through the Red Sea and the Panama Canal to deliver to Western Europe, which is now paying massive overinflated prices for gas because it was much cheaper to get it from Russia. But also U.S. LNG exporters strongly benefit as well. So the U.S. blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline benefited U.S. gas billionaires as well as our quote ally Qatar. And that's not a coincidence.
No, I agree with that completely. But I also want to touch on today, remembering 9/11, and also get your take on that. So I've talked my take many times about how the Israeli art students were trying to infiltrate DEA offices, and then they had been in the towers. They were released. They were clearly intelligence operatives for Mossad. It certainly looks like some of the grids were wired with demolition or some kind of way to collapse as well. So it's not like they were wired or there was jets. You can have both. It's not exclusive. Both can happen. And of course, the CIA was tracking all the Saudis for a year ahead of time. We know that because the FBI complained about it. But we also know that the FBI investigator up in Phoenix who wanted to investigate them was told to stand down. and not look at them. And so, and Tucker was, here's what really struck me with listening to Tucker talk to Pierce. He mentioned the Israeli art students. And that really made me prick up my ears, because that's kind of an outside the box thing. And that's verboten to criticize, to mention, Israel in a bad way, in that mainstream, because they're still kind of mainstream guys. Tucker's just on his own. So,
well,
I wanted to get your perspective, after all these years, on what more we have learned about 9/11.
So Netanyahu was operating even in those days along with U.S. intelligence community. So clearly it was, 9/11 was the October 7 of America many years earlier, 2 decades plus. And 9/11 was designed to pit America against Israel's enemies in the Middle East, and to take down Libya, to take down Syria, to take down Iran, which has not happened yet. But of course, look what happened to Gaddafi, et cetera, to take down Iraq, et cetera. And it's notable that today, every drop of oil that's pumped out of the oil fields controlled by Iraq, every dollar from that oil is sent to banks in New York City. It's all controlled by the United States. Essentially, we own the oil coming out of Iraq, not the Iraqi people. So that was a pillage operation to control that for the resources. But Israel, of course, has always had this plan of Greater Israel. They want to destroy Iraq. They want to take over all of Lebanon, parts of Egypt, parts of southern Turkey, all of Jordan, et cetera. And they want to destroy Iran. So this has been a plan that's been in place for decades. It's clear that 9/11 was allowed to take place. It's clear that the Pentagon was struck by a missile, not a commercial jet. And it's clear that World Trade Center 7 building was brought down by controlled demolition. And Jeffrey, our AI engine, Enoch, which is free, so this isn't a commercial plug, it's the only AI engine in the world. It's at Brighteon.ai, the only engine in the world that tells you the truth about 9/11. You can use it to research 9/11 information, because we trained it on every transcript and every document from the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth.
And I'm honored to be on it. And
you are on it.
Support it. Yes.
Yes. So ask it questions about Building 7 and 9/11. You'll be really amazed and impressed with the answers. And again, every other engine out there, ChatGPT, Google, whatever, will tell you, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. The government's narrative is all good. It's all lies. So we are using technology through decentralization to help bypass censorship and bring knowledge about history to the American people for free. That's what we do with AI.
So my take on Building 7 was it was the TOC. It was a Tactical Operations Center. So when you run ops like this, you even see this in all the spy movies. A team comes in and sets up, but when you're running an operation as big as going to bring down towers, you've got to have a substantial Tactical Operations Center or forward operational base to operate out of, that's nearby, where you're moving supplies, you're moving people. You have surveillance crews 24/7. I think Building 7 was the Tactical Operations Center. What say you?
Well, I concur with that, but I would add also it was a record-keeping location for the drug running operations of the CIA, involving opium from Afghanistan and places like that. So drug running records, bank transfer records, et cetera. And it was very convenient then that Building 7 was destroyed, because at that point, then if Congress asked for the records, they're all blown up. Right? So they destroyed the evidence. They carried out crimes of treason against America. They put America on a war footing with war in the Middle East, that people in countries like Iraq. And they toppled leaders like Saddam Hussein, et cetera. And they spent trillions of dollars on war while America's infrastructure crumbled. So the American people suffered. The money printing caused inflation. Even then, it's far worse now, obviously. But the American people suffered. And at the same time, Jeffrey, domestically, there was a war on everybody who looked Middle Eastern. Even, people who, Sikhs,
Yeah.
who have nothing to do with Islam, but the American people didn't know. Oh, you know, it looks like a turban on his head, must be evil. You know, it was like the insane war on just brown-skinned people in places like New York was just absolute racism, and it was completely insane. And that was brought about by this operation from the deep state.
And I was commenting before you came on that somebody drove through the prayer rally and said, frack Charlie Kirk, and he was attacked. And that was, they're just taking the bait to reestablish the religious war that they've been trying to foment here against Christian, Jew, and Muslim in America. I think a lot of that is to make that happen, to bring about greater Israel, to bring about the one world government and Messiah, false Messiah in Israel that they say they already have. I mean, I don't mean to sound like a broken record on this, but I just don't see the clues leading anywhere else. And I see great differences between the Trump attempted assassinations and this one. They are not the same.
Yeah.
In my estimation. Eric Goldman's asked, what's the reason to signal so close to Charlie and obviously on camera? Wouldn't that just give you away? No, because it's covered up. You're not going to, nobody's going to interview those guys. You're not going to hear about it. They're going to go with just like they did with the Ted Kaczynski stuff. They're going to go with their suspect that they have trotted out. They're not going to interview the bodyguards. And that's because they can get away with it. What do you think about that?
Well, one thing I've noticed about, I mean, I agree with your assessment. Those are common hand signals, but I have seen some of the videos I've seen online were clearly sort of mirrored or looped to make it look like double the hand signals. So that, I mean, that is one thing I noticed. Like they were doing they would roll it forward and then backwards.
Oh yeah.
It looked right. So I just want to be cautious about that because some people are manipulating those videos. I'm wondering, why would hand signals be necessary if Charlie Kirk were already in full view and the shooter was only 200 yards away, roughly, which you and I both know, Jeffrey, in a scope, even like a 4X scope, 200 yards looks like it's right in front of you. You know, it's not like you have full view. Why do you need hand signals? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason.
Because I mean, a very typical bus signal is you take your hat off or you turn it around or something. To not be that obvious is to touch the bill and then touch the ear and the other guy touches the arm. So that if I was waiting for that, there's three bona fides there that I can't mess up. It's not like me scratching the ear and I mess it. It's touch the brim, touch the ear, touch the arm in sequence. So that gives me surety. The reason to have that is because he might reach down for his water real quick. He might shift in his seat. And so I'm waiting for somebody close up to see where he's already just had a drink of water and he's not going to get up in his seat. He's not going to shift in his seat.
Okay, good point.
And then that goes back to the precision shot. Because if you're just going center mass, that wouldn't disturb you. Which is typically combat sniping is center mass. Because you can get more guys faster it's not like the movies and the video games where you go for the head. You don't do that in real life. But for this precision shot, you don't want him to shift to go for a bottle of water or sit forward or anything. You want to make sure he has just sat forward and has just settled himself or something like that. And you can see that peripherally. That's my answer anyway.
I think the presence of the decoys is even stronger evidence, frankly. And also the fact that Netanyahu tweeted too quickly after this, like he was in the loop, it seems. He knew this was about to happen. I'm guessing.
Yeah, and he had now any truth to the rumor that Netanyahu had invited him back to Israel and he had declined?
I've seen that. I don't have a confirmation of that. I've definitely seen that. But the decoys are really critical because, as you know, then distracting law enforcement allows escape time for the real shooter. Why would that guy be screaming, the older guy that they grabbed at first, why would he be screaming, shoot me, shoot me? I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all. If you're completely innocent, wouldn't you be screaming like, don't shoot me, or it's not me?
Right, yeah.
See, like that guy, I think the FBI should, but that guy should be interviewed and interrogated legally, I'm not saying tortured, but just legally interrogated to find out, is he coordinating with somebody?
Well, so the FBI is not going to do that.
we know that. Yeah.
The FBI never does it. I just am just amazed that they're still letting the FBI in to do all this stuff. But of course, most chiefs of police and upcoming police go to the National Academy. That's at the FBI Academy in Quantico. They wear the red shirts and walk around. So they're already getting, federal money. I saw something about an OCDF, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force, involved through the ATF release. So then once you're on the federal teat and you're getting the federal money, you're cross-deputized, and you're owned. But it's like Oswald, and it's like Jack Ruby and Oswald is
right.
It looks like it's a Mauser. Of course, Oswald's initial gun was a Mannlicher, supposedly identified initially as a Mauser, and then I think a Mauser was used against the King of Spain and the President of Yugoslavia back in the 20s and 30s.
There's a lot of symbolism in the rifle choice. Yeah,
yeah,
and that's not a rifle that I would choose for precision shooting in the modern day. There are far more advanced rifles that are far better today.
Well, you're saying what I'm thinking. That ain't the gun.
Yeah, right. I mean, and also like I have a long range sniper rifle that's actually it's a bullpup design. It's an SRS A1 from Desert Tech. And if you were trying to put a rifle in a backpack and there's even a covert design that will fire like a 300 Win Mag, and the entire rifle is like 20 something inches because it's a bullpup. And
we're talking Day of the Jackal stuff here, putting it in the crutch or whatever. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. But if you're trying to hide your rifle, you would go out, you would buy an SRS covert bullpup with a short barrel because it's only a 200-yard shot. You don't need velocity. You don't need normal rifle velocity at 200 yards. You're not going to have any deviation. Not even wind will really count at that range, right? So you're going to get a short rifle. You're not going to get a regular old style bolt action Mauser with a wood stock, come on.
So my supposition here, it's Mossad and operating through or with the permission or without the permission of the CIA and FBI, but they're highly infiltrated. Just like Trump, I don't know if you saw where Mike Johnson came out the other day in defense of Trump about Epstein and said Trump was actually an FBI informant.
What was that? Totally out of left field.
I think that was the truth. I think that was you always recruit at the highest levels. CIA overseas and DIA overseas. We're recruiting police chiefs, generals, and country presidents if we can.
But I'll tell you, Jeffrey, the question here then is if the Trump administration or some element of it was working with Mossad to carry this out, then the question is cui bono, right? So who benefits and how do they benefit? And clearly this benefits the Trump administration if it's transgenders who are taking the blame for this, because then that allows a very aggressive stance against left-wing indoctrination and left-wing censorship. And by the way, I also am calling for, we've got to dismantle the left-wing censorship infrastructure across big tech platforms. And we have to stop left-wing indoctrination in universities and so on. So I agree that is a massive cultural problem for America. It's cultural Marxism. But this gives Trump a lot of public support to go after the left politically. So that's probably what this is all about.
Yeah. And again, if you're running somebody, that's how you present it.
Absolutely.
So my whole whistleblowing where DEA made a deal with Sinaloa cartel, I saw that happen. I had walk-ins come in and say, hey, I'll give you this cartel. I'll give you this group. I'll give you that group. And I'm like, wait a minute, who are you with? I'm like, well, I'm with my own group. I'm like,
with the other cartel. Yeah.
I said, I can't sign you up because then I'm helping you. But, that's what DEA agents did later on, who were either less sophisticated or more corrupted. But I think there's a comparison here, and I want to know what you think about it with Qatar, because there's the confusion about the timeline of when Trump was notified. The embassy was not notified, but when Trump was notified 10 minutes before, or when he notified the Qataris 10 minutes after they say Trump is lying, I don't think they gave Trump a lot of notice, if at all, on this. I think they just did it.
Israel does whatever it wants.
Israel does whatever it wants, and then it
relies on Trump to support it after the fact.
Yeah. And if they let it happen, then they can always say, well, they could always trot out there, whatever ties he's got, whatever they've got on him, which must be substantial.
I think that Israel may be the undoing of the Trump administration if he's not very, very careful here. I don't know what they have on Trump or whatever reasons he's got for supporting them. Clearly, there was a lot of donor money that was sent his way. I don't think Trump would have won the election without two things. And one is, Israeli donor money, and the other is Elon Musk. And we need to consider both of those things. So Trump may feel like he owes Israel lots of endless favors in return, but Israel is a rogue operator. Most other nations in the world now call Israel a terror state. And I mean, after the Qatar bombing, that designation is being used a lot. The UN,
the UN just used it,
has denounced, and even before that, it's clear Israel has been carrying out a genocide. Israel has been bombing women and children, killing doctors, shooting doctors. I mean, you talk about shooting. On the day that Charlie Kirk was shot, and I don't mean to diminish that, but 79 Gazans were killed by Israel.
Yep.
Every day, it's tens or hundreds, or previously there were thousands of Palestinians murdered by Israel. And I also want to mention, Jeffrey, it shocks me that you see some of these Zionist supporters in conservative media who are aghast at the leftists who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, but those very same conservative influencers celebrate the deaths of Palestinians.
Yeah, and pastors and American Christian
and pastors
doing the same thing.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
So, my position is, let's just not kill each other. Let's not kill Palestinians. Let's not bomb civilians. Let's not shoot each other. And Israel's got to be reined in. Israel is a rogue, loose cannon on the international battleground that they've made. And, eventually karma's going to catch up to Israel. But, the reputation of Israel has been absolutely destroyed among most Americans, but not the Schofield Bible boomers.
And that's changing, though. I'm talking to sons of fathers who are arguing, both Christians who are arguing, who are understanding the parable of the vineyard, and I've had my own Team America guys go, explain to me or show me in the Synoptic Gospels the parable of the vineyard. I was like, okay, it's in all the Synoptic Gospels. It's clear. Yeshua says on the steps of the temple to the Pharisees, once you kill the son, you are no longer the chosen people. Period. End of story. It's over. And it actually corresponds where the one is beaten and the one is stoned. The one is stoned and one is killed. It corresponds to the prophets that were sent. Those are the analogies in the vineyard story. That's out of Isaiah. It's very precise what Yeshua is saying, but it's been covered up, like you're saying, by Darby and Schofield Bible stuff. But I think it may be, if you look at the old UMINT motivation, money, influence, coercion, ego, mice, that old UMINT abbreviation. I think for Trump, it's ego, where Trump gets his head on the coin, the Israeli coin, the 9/11 coin, and he's like the political messiah. I think that's the recruitment tool there, because that's just more part of his legacy.
Possibly the assassination of Charlie Kirk was a message to Trump to stay in line.
Well, yes, but that already happened with the golden pager, as far as I'm concerned. I think the golden pager was
clearly,
step in line and pull my chair out for me.
Right. Which begs the question, what is Israel planning on doing next that is so outrageous, that is so inhumane, that's such a war crime, that they need to remind Trump to support them even before they carry out that next act? And I believe that next act will be another round of attacks on Iran.
I agree with you totally. I think they're going to continue to up the ante to bring about greater Israel, to bring about world war, which is just fulfilling Revelation scripture. I totally agree with you.
And that Israel may begin to use nuclear weapons aggressively in those attacks, because Iran is a very, very large landmass, and it has obviously very deep mountains, and Iran has a very strong economy, a much larger population than Israel, and Iran has been restocking its very advanced ballistic missiles, missiles which nearly destroyed Israel in just 12 days in the previous exchange. And Iran, I believe they just voted to get out of the non-proliferation. Does that ring a bell?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I think they just passed that vote. And Iran tactically and rationally would never agree to be part of that program anymore, since the weapons inspectors actually leaked details back to Israel about Iran's nuclear program and where the fuel was kept, etc. On top of that, Russia has indicated support for Iran, and China has condemned Israel's attack on Qatar. So now we're beginning to see how this is going to shape up.
Well, and clearly Trump's not going to be, nobody's going to listen to Trump negotiate delegations anymore.
That's true.
Every time he puts them someplace, they get hit by Israel.
Right. So sadly, I'm predicting that Israel is going to initiate a nuclear attack on Iran. The attack will only be partially successful. Iran will respond with an all-out attack that will largely destroy Israel. And then in that process, Israel will probably initiate the Samson option and will begin nuking other neighbors, almost certainly southern Lebanon, possibly even Egypt, and possibly Turkey, because look, Turkey claimed to cut off all economic ties with Israel. Egypt is always on the verge of breaking ties, if not for the billions of dollars that it receives, and the Suez Canal. The Egyptian people despise Israel, and so do the people of Turkey. They despise Israel.
Well, Israel just bombed a Turkish weapons shipment, I think, coming through Syria. This week they've bombed Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Qatar, not Iran this week. But yeah, and what you're saying actually does fulfill Revelation scriptures, that Israel is going to be a burning heap for 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, Ezekiel 38, 39, some of that language also, in addition to what's in Revelation. But yeah, I think that, but Christians are going to be shocked when Jesus does not fly out of the sky on a white horse and lift you up and praise you for supporting genocide. Like, that's going to be a real shocker for a lot of Christian Zionists who have been complicit in the genocide. Jesus doesn't support you when you support murdering God's children. And that's something that a lot of Christians need to hear, and they don't want to hear it.
No, and they don't want to hear the conventional rapture. I know, that's a very controversial subject, but the traditional view is the good guys get disappeared. But if it is as in the days of Noah, then who gets washed away is the bad guys, but the good guys got to stick it out. The Noah family's got to stick it out. Whatever the tribulation looks like, I think we got to stick it out. And I'm raising my girls to stick it out, out in the country.
Yes.
Because the country is the safest place to do that. Well,
absolutely.
That makes so much sense. Do you have any time frame for that? Because I've seen my time frames are like 2030, 2042, something like that.
No, my time frame is much sooner. And the reason I say that is because, I work in the AI space. We are dealing with a very, very rapid replacement of human workers with AI agentic systems that are becoming incredibly competent right now. I have seen things, I've experienced things in my own work with AI, because, we built an AI engine. I've seen things that I would call AGI, artificial general intelligence. I've seen it myself. I've experienced it. I can reproduce the prompts. These machines are thinking, they're smart. What that means is that within 2 years, a significant percentage of human workers are going to be replaced in their jobs, like 50% or more. And within 10 years, I would say really 5 to 10 years, robotic replacement of AI labor, or I'm sorry, of human labor is also going to ramp up in a huge way. But the robots will take longer because they have to physically be built, whereas the software systems that replace humans at desk jobs and computer jobs, that can just be replicated in software. Copy these files, download, this language model, this reasoning model, boom, it's running. It's doing your job.
Well, I think you, like me, tractor, and I'm sure you, like me, have tractor breakdowns and farm equipment breakdowns all the time. So I have a hard time seeing the robots, taking over the fields, because, working with, farm machinery all the time, it's always breaking down.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true. But the first physical jobs to be replaced by robots will be things that are more algorithmic, like fulfillment centers. So Amazon fulfillment centers, which employs hundreds of thousands of people. And then think about grocery stores where they restock shelves every night. How many people work at grocery stores, retail stores, hardware stores, right? That's all going to be, those are the first jobs to be robotically replaced. And then I think the number one job in the world is driving vehicles. Well, that's going to be replaced by automation, and that's beginning to happen. I live in Texas, in Austin. There's Waymo robot cars all over the place now.
Really? Wow.
Oh, man, they're everywhere. Like every corner in downtown Austin, there's a Waymo vehicle. People are using them everywhere. And frankly, the Waymo cars are the safest drivers in Austin.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you want to have a safe experience driving through Austin, get behind a Waymo vehicle, because you don't want to be behind some crazy, insane left-wing human driver, which is the other choice in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, that's very true.
The robot's going to have a safe passageway through downtown on 6th Street or whatever. So you get behind a Waymo vehicle, and you think about it. Robot drivers are going to be by far the safest drivers on the road. And so they're going to take over the driving jobs. They're going to take over the warehouse jobs. They're going to take over, sweeping floors and cleaning things. Now, you're right. Agriculture is much more complex, as is plumbing, HVAC repair. But medicine, surgery is very algorithmic. Surgery, most people's anatomy is close enough, the same. Everybody knows.
I just got my cataract surgery done.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, they know where your eyeballs are, people don't come in with eyeballs in different places, usually. I don't know about Hillary Clinton, but there might be some weird deformities, but most people have the same anatomy. So surgery is going to be algorithmically replaced, especially for procedures like cataract surgery or gallbladder removal or appendectomies, et cetera. Those are being automated now. So the reason I say all this, Jeffrey, is that there's an acceleration of the timeline because humanity itself is not going to have the future that people think. Like anybody buying 10-year treasury bonds right now is completely oblivious to what Earth is going to look like in 10 years. I wouldn't buy 10-year anything right now.
Agreed. Yeah. Someone's asking about the September 17th UK meeting that Charles wants Trump to join the UK. Have you heard something about that? I haven't heard anything about that.
No, but there was a comment from Trump like months ago, something about joining with the UK on something. I don't recall the details. I'm not familiar with that. But no, I think Trump is trying to destroy the UK, honestly. I think that's what the gold repatriation was all about. And I think the destruction of Gazprom under the Biden administration is also designed to destroy the UK. And the UK is being destroyed. France is burning. Germany's industrial base is just gutted. And the UK is financially in dire straits. And frankly, the euro also will fail before the dollar fails. And the yen will fail before the dollar fails.
Japan just lost their prime minister. France government
exactly
failing as well. Yeah, and I think a lot of that is big pharma, international, transnational corporate regions trying to control the world. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah, but I also agree that there's something intrinsically incredibly evil about the history of the British Empire.
Oh yeah,
those people are blood drinking vampires and pedophiles and whatever, and that's not even hyperbole. Like that's actually who they are. And I'm not saying that.
So why are so many Americans using King James Bibles?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Geneva Bible was the Bible of the Pilgrims, replaced purposely by the King James.
Well, and also, Jeffrey, the reason Keir Starmer wants war with Russia is because the young British men are beginning to notice things. They're beginning to wake up. They're pushing back against their own corrupt government. And war is always used to send your young men off to die somewhere else so that they don't rise up against you. That's why Keir Starmer and Macron and Merz, that's why they're all desperate for war with Russia, because Russia is the great grinding machine to get rid of young men.
Well,
that's what it is.
England and France are gone. The birth rate, they're Muslim. They're gone.
Yeah, but they don't want any uprisings of the remaining, French citizens or UK citizens. They're trying to grind them up, just like they did young Ukrainian men. 1.7 million Ukrainian men gone.
Yep.
On purpose.
Well, let me ask you, this is really your lane, because we're both agreed that Trump is captured. But I was really impressed with RFK standing alone against all the senators who were just voraciously attacking him in defense of the big pharma cartels, the drug dealers. I mean, they were just whores for big pharma. But he also allowed another mRNA vaccine to come out, as Sasha Atepova has pointed out. But to me, he looks like the next best hope. But a lot of people think that he's totally captured too. What do you say about that?
I was disappointed until recently with RFK Jr. But recently, as you mentioned, he's shown real courage and he's made some very effective decisions. He's, fired top demons at the CDC, like actual demonic people with demon tattoos and everything. He's fired them, and it's very clear that he's working a process. In other words, RFK Jr. has to untangle a machine, a bureaucratic mess that is almost unimaginable in its scope and in its evil.
Yeah. And
the pushback against drug advertising recently, which is only it's a limited hangout, but it's
something.
Ban pharmaceutical advertising in mainstream media. And ultimately, Jeffrey, we got to dismantle the CDC, tear it down, end it, and end the FDA. Give the power to the states for food safety.
I agree that's a step. I wrote that's a step. But do you think that it will be banned? The big pharma ads from TV will be banned by RFK?
That's a coin toss at this point, maybe. But the first step is making it more difficult for pharma to control the media by requiring them to mention all the side effects in the ads.
That's a step in the right direction.
A step in the right direction.
Do you see that while Trump is captured and sold out, that RFK is the next best alternative in the next election, not J.D. Vance and not Trump somehow going for a third term?
Well, I want to be clear. I wouldn't characterize Trump as captured and sold out. He's influenced, heavily influenced, maybe captured, but there are times where I think Trump is really trying to do the right thing within a very difficult situation. And, I'm an equal opportunity critic of Trump. I criticize his tariff policies, etc. But when he does something that is worthy of praise, I am happy to say positive things about what Trump is doing. And for example, bringing back domestic energy production. Trump has spearheaded that, and that's critical for our future. Understanding the importance of our domestic power grid. Trump is pro-energy. That's critical. Trump has supported Lee Zeldin at the EPA, tearing down the insane climate lunatics and, all the war on carbon dioxide. And by the way, I've got 3 minutes remaining,
okay.
By the way, but Trump does some good things. I want to be clear, but he also sometimes does horrible things, it's both.
Well, I think Gabbard looks to be pretty good because she's taken on the CIA.
I'm impressed with Tulsi, big time.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I got to say, DEA, my old agency, just big Sinaloa cartel, 600 plus hit across the country. It looks like the DEA is doing what it was supposed to do a long time ago.
Well, I think Tulsi Gabbard is presidential material, 100%.
Do you? Oh, cool.
I do. I absolutely do. And I saw her speak in person at the Ron Paul birthday event here in Texas recently. And I was just really impressed with her speech, her presence, and the fact that she really is at war with elements of the deep state, but she's holding her ground.
Well, that's reassuring as well. So I want to thank you so much for coming on, Mike. I know you're really busy, and I also want to point out that there's a lot of liberty luminaries who have kind of become liberty mongers, just as there are a lot of Christ mongers. And you and I kind of catapulted in the liberty luminary space at the same time. I remember we were both kind of stunned at the audience response at the first Clay Clark event, but that you have remained true to your convictions and haven't turned it into chasing speeches or anything like that, and neither have I. And I just wanted to acknowledge you on that regard.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey, and I'm really honored to know you, and I mean that sincerely. You are such an impressive person, and I don't say that lightly. I honor your integrity. I honor you're a principled person. I consider myself to be a principled person, which means for both of us, our principles are not for sale, and we cannot be compromised. It doesn't matter if somebody waves $1 billion in front of you. Your principles are not for sale, because that's what you take with you when you leave this world, however we leave it. So I'm honored to know you. I'm always honored to be on your show, and I'd love to have you on my show again. And thank you for having me here. To your viewers, if they want to follow my work, I'm on naturalnews.com. I'm on brighteon.com. I'm censored almost everywhere else. Oh, I am on Rumble also, Health Ranger Report.
And your AI, again.
Brighteon.ai, and it's free. It's free. You don't even have to have an account or anything. You can just use it. Ask it anything. Ask it about elections. Ask it about 9/11. Ask it about vaccines. I dare you.
Will do. Fun. Well, thank you so much. Honored to have you on this 9/11 anniversary and in memoriam to Charlie Kirk. So thank you so much, my friend, and God bless.
Thank you, Jeffrey. God bless. Take care.
Okay, there's the fabulous Mike Adams I've been trying to get on forever, and his insights are so important and so telling and really crucial. And I just did an interview with him yesterday, a radio one that I guess will come out soon, and I've been trying to get him, and I think that was really exceptional, important to get to. Yeah, so I got to say, the DEA looks like it's doing real DEA stuff. 617 arrests of the Sonoma cartel across 23 different U.S. regions and 7 foreign territories. Massive seizures, 480 kilograms of fentanyl powder, 714 counterfeit pills, 2,000 kilograms of meth, 7,000 kilograms of cocaine, 420 firearms, nearly 13 million in assets. Largest DEA takedown in history. Looks like the real deal that hardly ever happened. In my day, I took down one complete organization. Also want to mention there was a shooter in Colorado, a high school shooter, now dead of self-inflicted wounds. And of course, Israel is bombing 360 targets in Gaza as well. So a lot still going on this 9/11 anniversary and in memoriam of Charlie Kirk. But again, as Mike pointed out, the whole purpose of this was to terrorize everybody into shutting up and cowering. And that is not what we should do. It should be the exact opposite effect. And so I'm closing with a modified, inspired version of a martyred Zimbabwe African pastor. I stand with the unashamed. My die is cast. The line crossed. I won't look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed. My present makes sense. My future is secure. I'm done with small planning, smooth knees, colorless dreams, tamed visions, mundane talking, cheap living, and dwarfed goals. I don't need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, plaudits, or popularity. I live by faith, lean on his presence, walk by patience, lift by prayer, and labor by power. My face is set, my gait is fast, my goal is heaven, my road is narrow, my way rough, my companions few, my guide reliable, my mission clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of adversity, negotiate at the table of the enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up until I have stayed up, stored up, prayed up, paid up, preached up for the cause of Christ. I am a disciple of Yeshua. I go till he comes, give till I drop, preach till all I know, and work till he stops me. And when he comes for his own, he will have no problem recognizing me. My banner is clear. God bless you. God bless America. God bless Charlie Kirk. God bless all the heroes of 9/11 on this anniversary.